Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Cavan-Smith. Tonight, at least 9 people die as security forces fire on crowds protesting across Democratic Republic of Congo. President Joseph Kabila's refusal to leave office at the end of his mandate has sparked violence and deepened political discord. Also, before it was razed by Boko Haram jihadists, the Nigerian town of Bama was a bustling trade hub. Now, its houses are burnt-out shells. Those who once called it home face a daunting task in rebuilding. We take a closer look. And tens of thousands of people die of snake bites across Africa every year. The risks of deadly encounters with the reptiles are made all the more by a shortage in supplies of anti-venom. But first, at least a dozen people have been killed in deadly protests across DR Congo against President Joseph Kabila's refusal to leave office after the end of his constitutional mandate. Now, tension's been mounting for months ahead of the deadline that came midnight Monday. Elections have been postponed, and a controversial court order recently ruled that Kabila could stay in power until a successor is chosen. Now, there have been cries of treason from the opposition. In anticipation of unrest, troops patrolled Kinshasa's streets, even as the sounds of gunfire could be heard in parts of the city. Thomas Nicolas brings us more from the Congolese capital.
It has been a deadly day in Kinshasa. There were clashes between protesters and the security forces all day. According to the government, 9 people got killed today in Kinshasa. But according to the UN Human Rights Director for Congo, there are solid reports that 20 people got killed today in Kinshasa. And there is one dead body that we saw with our own eyes in the Ngaba district. And the people of that neighborhood were keeping the young man's body with them. He was 17 years old, and they were keeping him under a blanket so that they could bury him themselves. In the south of DR Congo, in Lubumbashi, the governor said that 2 people got killed today. One of them was a protester, and the other one was a policeman lynched by the crowd. It is very hard to know at the moment if things are going to remain calm going forward in DR Congo.
Thomas Nicolas there for us in Kinshasa. While talks between the Congolese government and parts of the opposition aimed at ending the standoff are due to restart later this week, but that's uncertain, and the country already faces a deepening political crisis. Nicolas Germain tells us more.
Violence had already flared up when Congo's main opposition leader, Etienne Tshisekedi, spoke. His advisors posted a video on YouTube, but it could not be watched in Congo, where access to social media has been restricted since Sunday evening.
I'm launching a solemn appeal to the Congolese people not to recognize the illegal and illegitimate authority of Joseph Kabila and to resist his coup peacefully.
Etienne Tshisekedi said he accepted to continue to hold talks to find a solution to this political crisis. But these talks now appear unlikely as a new government was announced on Monday evening. Prime Minister Sami Badibanga heads an expanded 65-member cabinet.
I wish to appeal for peace and tranquility throughout the Republic. The government is taking measures through the forces of law and order to ensure that public order is maintained in the respect of law and freedom for all.
Joseph Kabila's mandate officially ended this Tuesday, but an agreement signed between the ruling coalition and a small fraction of the opposition has pushed back the presidential election to April 2018 at the earliest. This deal is strongly rejected by Tshisekedi and his allies. Congo's political situation has sparked concern internationally. On Tuesday, France called on the EU to re-examine its relations with Congo. Paris fears that Kabila's decision not to step down could stoke conflict.
Well, in other news, 11 Gambian ambassadors serving in countries around the world have called on their president, Yahya Jammeh, to accept his electoral loss to rival Adama Barrow. Jammeh had originally conceded defeat in the December 1st vote, but he's since called for a new poll. Regional powers from the ECOWAS bloc have been trying to convince him to step down. On Tuesday, whilst in Paris, Senegal's president said it was Jammeh's duty to do so.
There is an urgency to respect the sovereign will of the Gambian people. In a republic,
In a democracy, it is the people who are the sovereign. Once they decide, one must give way. That's why Senegal did not hesitate to give its clear position on this question. And ECOWAS unanimously agreed with the Gambian people in their choice and invited President Jammeh to respect this sovereign choice.
Hundreds of people turned out in Tunis on Tuesday to protest a killing that Palestinian Islamist movement Hamas has blamed on Israel. Mohamed Zaouri, who was an engineer and drone expert who Hamas says worked for it for a decade, was riddled with bullets last Thursday. He'd been sitting at the wheel of his car outside of his home in the city of Sfax. Several Tunisian suspects have been held for questioning, and the Interior Ministry of Tunisia is also looking for at least 2 foreigners in connection to the murder. Now, the once bustling Nigerian trade hub of Bama is no more. That's the fear of many of those who used to call it home before it was razed to the ground by Boko Haram extremists. The fighters first seized Bama and then killed and torched all in their path as they were forced out by Nigerian soldiers. Little of the damage has since been undone.
The largest town that Boko Haram ever controlled lies in ruins, its homes empty. Bama in northeastern Nigeria was occupied by the Islamic militant group for 7 months. During that time, the town was destroyed.
When Boko Haram invaded the town, they set all these places on fire. The place where I'm standing now, it was a maternity home of the General Hospital Bama. Now it has been made to be a deserted area.
Nigeria's army recaptured the town in March 2015. But although the militants were driven out, they remain nearby in the Sambisa forest. Despite the fragile peace, authorities in Bama claim they've beaten Boko Haram.
Boko Haram have been defeated. They have been chased out of all our communities. They do not have the capacity to hold on to any territory in Nigeria.
Tens of thousands of people displaced by the violence continue to live in camps. Authorities say they should be able to go home within 6 months. But for those scarred by the occupation, the thought of returning home is alarming.
I was there when they killed my husband and my relatives. Some of them were even burnt alive in their homes. If I go home, Boko Haram will kill me and there's nothing to eat.
As security slowly improves in the northeast, the full extent of the devastation caused by Boko Haram is being laid bare. According to the World Bank, it will take nearly $6 billion to rebuild northeastern Nigeria. But no amount of money will heal the trauma still felt by those who survived.
Many communities in Guinea Bissau live in constant danger of bites from venomous snakes, and a shortage in anti-venom is costing lives. They're not alone. Across the continent, nearly 1 million people are bitten by the reptiles every year, and the scarcity of antidotes contributes to the deaths of more than 20,000 annually.
The wounds are still raw for this snakebite victim in Guinea Bissau, 3 months after the bite.
It bit me, but I didn't see it. I thought it was a piece of wood. I looked and saw that the blood was coming out. They had to take me home because I could not walk anymore.
The island of Soga, in the archipelago of the Bijagos, looks like a tropical paradise. But within its lush greenery lurk vipers, cobras and deadly mambas called kakuba.
I've known people who've died after they were bitten by snakes. The kakuba are the most venomous. Usually when they bite, you don't survive. They're often in trees and palm leaves.
Victims of snake bites struggle to get help. There's a small hospital on the nearby island of Bubak. But if the bite is serious, victims must travel 5 hours by sea to the capital, Bissau. Most can't go and seek help from witch doctors instead.
The victims often go to the island of Formosa, which is famous for its traditional healers. They soak roots in water and then drink the potion.
Meanwhile, pharmaceutical companies have stopped the production of certain antidotes because there isn't enough demand. The World Health Organization is pushing for more interest in the African market, which is worth an estimated 40 million euros.
That's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
People and Profit, presented by Stephen Carroll.
Business news is not about numbers, nor percentages and statistics. Business news is about people and how we live our lives. People and Profit goes beyond numbers to analyse how the global flow of money and profits shape our world. Intelligent and accessible, the show cuts across business, economics and politics.
People and Profit on France 24 and France24.com.